Leo had always imagined college life as a mix of excitement and chaos, but nothing prepared him for meeting his new roommate. The apartment smelled faintly of paint and dust, the boxes stacked neatly in one corner, and the sunlight streamed through the large window, making the small living space feel alive. Leo dropped his backpack on the floor, took a deep breath, and whispered to himself, "This is going to be a great year." A soft knock on the door interrupted him. "Come in," Leo called, expecting a fellow human student. But when the door opened, he nearly stumbled back. Standing there was a creature unlike anything he had seen. Xylo was small, about 4 feet tall, with shimmering silver-blue skin that seemed to reflect the light. His large round eyes were filled with curiosity, and tiny ridges ran along the sides of his head. Leo blinked several times. Hi? You must be my roommate?" "Yes," Xylo replied in a calm, melodic voice that seemed to vibrate slightly. "I am Xylo of Kirin. I will share this habitat with you for the duration of your educational cycle on this planet." Leo laughed nervously. "Right. Welcome to Earth, Xylo." He extended his hand, which Xylo examined before tentatively touching. "We shake hands?" Leo asked. Xylo mimicked the gesture perfectly, though his fingers shimmered faintly with a soft glow. As they unpacked their belongings, Leo realized Xylo's fascination with everything human. He stared at the furniture, the small fridge, even the light switch, asking questions that Leo didn't always know how to answer. "This device provides illumination?" Xylo asked, pointing at the lamp. "Correct," Leo said, chuckling. "It's a light." The initial day passed slowly, with Leo showing Xylo how to use the coffee maker, how to flush the toilet, and even how to work the old microwave. Xylo absorbed every piece of information with astounding precision, taking notes on a small holographic device that projected data into the air. Leo had to admit, Xylo was the most attentive roommate he had ever had. By evening, they sat on the couch, sharing a simple meal. Xylo studied the food with intense focus. "You ingest this substance for energy?" he asked, holding a slice of pizza. "Yeah, food gives us energy," Leo replied, biting his slice. Xylo's eyes widened slightly. "Fascinating. On Kirin, we convert raw minerals into energy directly. The concept of digestion is unique." It was then that Xylo's attention shifted to something he had seen earlier in Leo's room, a large, colorful textbook labeled Human Biology. He tilted his head, staring at it. "What is this compilation?" he asked. Just a textbook," Leo said casually. "You know, human biology, anatomy stuff." Xylo picked it up carefully, flipping pages with delicate fingers. His large eyes scanned diagrams of human organs, skeletal structures, and eventually, the reproductive system. Leo watched as his roommate's expression changed from curiosity to utter confusion. "Leo," Xylo said slowly, his voice tinged with disbelief. "Explain this. Humans reproduce this way?" Leo's face went red. "Oh, that... Yeah, humans have a unique system." He scratched his head, unsure how much to explain. Xylo tilted his head, processing the information like a computer analyzing a problem. For the next few hours, Leo noticed Xylo returning to the textbook repeatedly. He would whisper to himself, pointing at diagrams and mumbling, "Interesting. Very interesting. Why such complexity?" Leo laughed nervously. "You know, you don't have to study it like a test, just live and learn," he said, hoping Xylo wouldn't take it too literally. That night, Leo lay in his bed, staring at the ceiling. He could hear Xylo softly talking to himself in the living room, pacing back and forth. He was probably trying to understand something that humans found simple. Leo smiled. "This is going to be interesting," he thought. The next morning, Xylo emerged from his room carrying a small notebook filled with observations. "Leo," he said, "I have questions." "Shoot," Leo replied, pouring cereal into a bowl. Xylo's questions were strange but logical. Why do humans blush in certain situations? Why do you feel attraction to one another? Is physical contact necessary for reproductive initiation? Leo nearly choked on his cereal. "Okay, that's a lot for breakfast." Xylo ignored Leo's discomfort, flipping pages of the textbook as if it held the secrets of the universe. "Your species is paradoxical, emotions and biology intertwined. This combination, unprecedented," Leo laughed nervously. "Well, yeah, that's humans for you. Xylo's fascination was unlike anything Leo had encountered. He realized that living with an alien who didn't understand human culture would be both hilarious and enlightening. Over the next week, Leo noticed Xylo observing humans everywhere. In the cafeteria, Xylo would quietly take notes, tilting his head when people laughed or held hands. In the library, he would whisper to himself, physical contact, emotional expression, energy transfer. Leo tried to explain gestures like hugs and handshakes, but Xylo's alien logic misinterpreted them as secret reproductive rituals. One afternoon, Xylo attempted to simulate human interaction in the apartment. He stood rigidly in front of a mirror, practicing smiles, handshakes, and polite nods. He even tried to replicate laughter, producing a strange melodic hum that made Leo giggle uncontrollably. "Xylo, you sound like a musical instrument," Leo said between laughs. Xylo paused, confused. "Am I incorrect?" "You're unique," Leo said diplomatically, "but you're learning. That's what counts." Xylo nodded, absorbing the compliment. Then came the day Xylo discovered the digital tablet Leo used for studying. It had a bookmarked video titled Human Reproduction Explained. His eyes widened as he watched, taking notes faster than Leo could blink. "Leo, the complexity, the process. It is beyond calculation, humans. Fascinating," Xylo murmured. Leo couldn't help but smile at Xylo's reaction. "Yeah, humans are pretty amazing," he said, a little proud. "But you don't have to memorize everything, just live and enjoy life." Xylo seemed conflicted. On one hand, he wanted to understand humans fully, scientifically. On the other, he felt admiration for their emotional depth, creativity, and unpredictability. It was clear that Leo's roommate was not only curious but beginning to see humans in a new light, as something extraordinary. By the end of the week, Xylo's experiments had become part of daily life. He tried to cook human food with comical results, attempted to mimic human speech patterns, and even organized a small, social interaction exercise for himself. Leo watched in amusement as Xylo took notes on the simplest human behaviors: a handshake, a wink, a smile. Late one night, Leo peeked into the living room. Xylo was staring at the textbook, holographic notes floating around him like tiny stars. "Leo," Xylo said softly, almost to himself, "I must understand this. Humans, it is beyond expectation." Leo laughed quietly. "You're going to be the best student in human studies ever, or the most confused alien. Probably both." Xylo turned to him, eyes wide. "I will study. I will learn. I will understand. Your species, it is. Remarkable." Leo felt a warm sense of pride. Even though Xylo didn't fully understand everything yet, it was clear he was beginning to appreciate humans not just as a species, but as a combination of intellect, creativity, and emotion, something truly special. As Leo drifted to sleep that night, he couldn't stop thinking about the adventures ahead. With Xylo as his roommate, every day promised laughter, surprises, and the chance to see the human world through the eyes of someone who found it utterly extraordinary. And somewhere in the apartment, Xylo whispered softly to himself, "I will understand. I must humans. Fascinating beyond measure." Thus began the strange and wonderful journey of Leo and his alien roommate, a journey that would soon lead to discoveries, misunderstandings, laughter, and revelations about the unique qualities that made humans. The first week with Xylo had been a whirlwind of laughter, confusion, and surprisingly effective teaching. But by the second week, Leo realized that Xylo's curiosity about humans was escalating to a whole new level. Xylo was no longer satisfied with observing Leo alone. He wanted to understand human behavior everywhere, in every place, and in every situation. It began on a quiet afternoon. Leo was walking through the college courtyard when he noticed Xylo hovering behind a tree, watching two students sitting on a bench. Xylo's eyes were wide, glowing slightly, and he was muttering under his breath. "Leo," he whispered urgently, "explain this. Why do these humans hold hands? What is the significance of this behavior?" Leo glanced at the couple who were laughing and sharing snacks. That's just friendship. Maybe a little affection," he said. "Humans show they care in small ways like holding hands." Xylo tilted his head, scribbling notes furiously on his holographic pad. "Care, emotional bonding, energy transfer via physical touch, Fascinating. Leo laughed nervously. You really take everything literally, don't you? I must, Xylo replied solemnly. Observations must be accurate. Data cannot be misinterpreted. The next day, Xylo took his curiosity even further. He visited the campus library, where hundreds of students were reading and studying. He wandered the aisles, peeking at books and journals, trying to understand human relationships, humor, and social norms. Every time someone laughed, Xylo paused, tilting his head as if trying to calculate the exact reason for the sound. Leo found him there, crouched behind a bookshelf, whispering to himself. The sound pattern, laughter frequency, emotional response, very complex. Xylo, you're acting like a secret agent, Leo said, laughing. Relax, people aren't experiments. Xylo blinked slowly. I am observing humans in their natural environment. This is essential to my study. By the third day, Xylo had started replicating what he saw. He tried small gestures like nodding politely when someone entered a room or mimicking smiles he observed. At first, his attempts were unusual, a smile that glowed faintly, a handshake that produced a soft hum, but he was improving. Leo couldn't help but be impressed. You're learning fast, he said. Faster than I expected. But Xylo's fascination soon turned to something much more specific: human reproductive behavior. He had discovered that humans were different from Kirans, whose species reproduced mechanically and without emotional involvement. Xylo could not comprehend how humans combined biology, emotions, and culture in such intricate ways. It started with questions. Leo, when humans interact closely, is there a signal, a chemical or energy pattern that triggers attraction? Leo hesitated. Well, yes, kind of, but it's not like Kirans. It's complicated. Emotions play a big part. Xylo's eyes glowed brighter. Complicated, yet efficient. The process is subtle, requires intelligence and social skill. Humans, astonishing. The next week, Leo came home to find Xylo surrounded by household items trying to simulate human interaction. There were pillows arranged in patterns, kitchen utensils in precise formations, and even a small fan whirring to represent emotional energy flow. What are you doing? Leo asked, raising an eyebrow. I am replicating human reproductive rituals, Xylo said calmly. Observational models require practical testing. Simulation is necessary. Leo blinked. Simulation with a blender and a fan? Yes, Xylo said, adjusting the fan speed. Energy transfer is crucial. I must observe consequences. Leo burst out laughing. You're taking it way too seriously. But Xylo wasn't fazed. To him, this was serious scientific research. He carefully recorded every experiment, noting patterns in human energy and interactions. By the end of the day, the apartment looked like a small laboratory. Leo had to step carefully to avoid knocking over piles of utensils and holographic notes. Despite the chaos, Leo couldn't help but admire Xylo's dedication. Most humans never thought so deeply about the very behaviors they performed every day. For Xylo, every gesture, every laugh, every glance had meaning and purpose. One evening, Leo sat down with Xylo to talk. Xylo, maybe you're overthinking this. Humans aren't perfect and we don't always understand our own behavior. Sometimes it's just feelings. Xylo's large eyes softened. Feelings. Yet they influence actions and survival. Fascinating. Humans are not only biologically advanced, they are emotionally advanced as well. Yeah, Leo said, smiling. That's what makes us. Xylo nodded, then looked thoughtful. I must continue observation. Full comprehension is necessary. Partial understanding would be inaccurate. And so Xylo's curiosity continued to escalate. He started following Leo outside the apartment, carefully observing how humans interacted in cafes, parks, and gyms. He watched friends laugh, couples hold hands, and strangers help each other. Each action seemed to Xylo a small window into human complexity. One afternoon, Leo found Xylo crouched in a corner of the park, taking notes on a couple feeding birds together. Leo, Xylo whispered, observe the energy patterns. Their proximity, shared resources, emotional synchronization, incredible, Leo laughed. You're really going to write a report on this, aren't you? Yes, Xylo replied, eyes glowing with focus. Accurate data is essential, but Xylo didn't just observe, he experimented. He tried to recreate human social interactions with varying results. Sometimes he bowed awkwardly to strangers, offering a soft hum as a greeting. Other times he attempted to replicate laughter, producing strange tones that made people glance curiously but politely smile. Leo found it both hilarious and heartwarming. "Xylo, you're learning." "Slowly but surely." Xylo paused, considering Leo's words. "Learning? Yes. But there is more. Humans, they integrate biology, emotion, and society in a way I have never witnessed. I must understand completely." Then came the discovery that changed everything. Leo's tablet, which contained a bookmarked video titled Human Reproduction Explained. Xylo's eyes widened as he watched the detailed explanation of human reproductive biology. For a moment he was silent, absorbing the complexity, the subtlety, and the emotion involved. "Leo," Xylo said finally, voice almost reverent. "Your species, it is extraordinary. The process, biological, emotional, and cultural, it is unlike anything in the galaxy." Leo smiled awkwardly. "Yeah, humans are complicated. But that's what makes life interesting." Xylo nodded slowly. "I must observe more. I must understand more. Humans, they are not only a species, they are an intricate system of energy, emotion, and intellect. I am impressed." From that moment, Xylo's fascination became almost unstoppable. He watched, he recorded, and he simulated. Every human gesture, every laugh, every glance became part of his study. Leo sometimes wondered if Xylo would ever stop. But he also knew that this was exactly the kind of curiosity that made humans remarkable in Xylo's eyes. Late at night, Leo often caught Xylo talking to himself. Human, biological, and emotional complexity, so unpredictable, yet so elegant, he whispered. Leo would chuckle quietly, thinking how strange and wonderful it was to have an alien roommate who found even the smallest human behavior to be astonishing. Despite the chaos, there was a growing bond between them. Xylo admired humans not just scientifically but personally, learning to appreciate humor, kindness, and creativity. Leo, in turn, was learning to see his own species from a fresh perspective, through the eyes of someone who found humans nothing short of extraordinary. As the days passed, it became clear that this journey was only beginning. Xylo's curiosity would soon lead to more experiments, more observations, and perhaps even more hilarious misunderstandings. But one thing was certain. Both Leo and Xylo were on a path to discovery, learning not only about reproduction and biology, but about friendship, curiosity, and the unique qualities that made humans. Humans. Xylo had spent weeks observing, recording, and experimenting. He had studied human gestures, laughter patterns, and even the most subtle signs of emotion. But one evening, as he and Leo sat in the apartment after a long day of classes, Xylo reached a new level of understanding. Leo had just finished explaining a tricky part of human biology when Xylo leaned forward, his glowing eyes filled with awe. "Leo, I begin to understand. Human reproduction is not merely biological. It involves emotion, culture, and intelligence. Your species, it is remarkable." Leo chuckled nervously. "I told you humans are complicated. But it's more than just biology. Emotions are a big part of it. Attraction, bonding, trust, all of it matters." Xylo's notebook floated around him in a gentle holographic swirl. He scribbled notes at lightning speed, connecting patterns in ways that humans rarely considered. "Incredible," he murmured. "The energy transfer, emotional resonance, and social bonding, they all interact to create offspring. No other species I know combines all three." Leo leaned back, impressed despite himself. "I guess that's what makes us, he said. "We're not perfect, but we're unique." Xylo nodded slowly. "Unique, yes, astonishingly complex. And yet, there is more. Observation alone is insufficient. I must engage. I must participate in controlled experiments to fully comprehend human behavior." Leo raised an eyebrow. "Participate? Xylo, you're not human. You can't." "Really?" Xylo's expression remained calm but determined. "I will not replicate exactly. That is not necessary. I only need controlled simulation. I must experience it to understand fully." Over the next few days, Xylo began carefully studying couples in public. He visited the park, the cafeteria, and even the gym, noting how people interacted. He observed how a hand on a shoulder could convey reassurance, how a smile could ignite trust, and how laughter could build connections. "Leo," Xylo said one afternoon as they walked across campus, "I notice humans communicate attraction through subtle cues, posture, eye contact, and tone. And yet it is unpredictable. One must interpret signals correctly or failure occurs, Leo laughed. You're right. It's not always straightforward. That's why humans are interesting. We don't have rules like currents. It's messy, emotional, and sometimes confusing. Xylo considered this. Messy, yet effective. Humans succeed despite unpredictability. Efficiency through adaptability. Fascinating. One evening, Leo was explaining emotions to Xylo, trying to simplify concepts like love, trust, and empathy. Xylo listened intently, his large eyes reflecting curiosity and admiration. So, emotions influence decision-making, social interaction, and survival. The reproductive process is therefore not isolated. It is connected to culture, relationships, and mental states. Exactly, Leo said. It's more than biology. Emotions guide humans in ways even we don't fully understand. Xylo's eyes glowed brighter. Then, to understand humans, one must understand not only their biology but also their feelings, social interactions, and creativity. Humans, remarkable, superior in a sense to mechanical calculation alone. Leo smiled, feeling proud. You're starting to get it. Humans are special because we combine all these things: brains, hearts, and imagination. Xylo's admiration was evident. He began conducting controlled experiments at home, simulating human interactions with objects and holographic models. He observed gestures, expressions, and communication patterns, noting how small variations could change outcomes. For Xylo, this was the closest he could come to fully understanding human behavior. One day, Xylo approached Leo with a proposal. Leo, I wish to conduct an experiment. I will simulate human social interaction using controlled variables. You will observe and guide me. This is necessary for complete comprehension. Leo raised an eyebrow. Controlled experiment? You mean more of your simulations? Yes, Xylo replied calmly. I will recreate scenarios. I will analyze outcomes. I will learn. The experiment began with simple exercises. Xylo practiced greetings, polite conversation, and mirroring expressions. At first, his attempts were awkward, smiles that glowed faintly, laughter that sounded like music, but he improved rapidly. Leo guided him, explaining subtle cues and social rules. Your smile needs to be natural, Leo said, not mechanical. Humans respond to authenticity. Xylo adjusted his posture and expression, nodding. Authenticity, noted. Emotional resonance required for accurate social replication. Next, Xylo attempted more complex simulations. He observed how friends interacted, how couples communicated without words, and how humans expressed attraction subtly. He recorded patterns, tested responses, and refined his approach. Each simulation brought him closer to understanding. Leo, Xylo said one evening, eyes wide, humans are paradoxical, biologically driven yet guided by emotions, predictable in principle yet unpredictable in practice. Survival depends on adaptability, creativity, and social intelligence. Your species, extraordinary. Leo laughed, feeling proud of his alien roommate. You've got it, Xylo. Humans are complicated, but that's what makes life interesting. We don't just survive, we experience, we connect, we create. Xylo's admiration grew. He began incorporating humor, kindness, and empathy into his simulations, recognizing that these traits were central to human interactions. He discovered that success in human society wasn't just about biology. It was about understanding others, showing care, and building trust. Then came the breakthrough. One evening, Leo explained the emotional aspects of human reproduction, focusing on intimacy, bonding, and trust. Xylo listened, processing each concept carefully. Leo, the process is holistic. It is not merely physical. It requires emotional alignment, mutual understanding, and cognitive engagement. Humans, efficient and elegant in a way I cannot calculate. Leo smiled. You're finally seeing it. That's what makes us special. It's not just science, it's life. Xylo paused, absorbing the words. Life, complex, adaptive, and emotionally driven. Humans are beyond simple analysis. I am impressed beyond my expectations. For the first time, Xylo expressed admiration not for the mechanics of reproduction, but for the human experience itself. He recognized that humans were capable of combining intellect, emotion, and creativity in ways no other species he had encountered could match. Inspired, Xylo decided to explore further. He began observing human rituals, traditions, and small acts of care. He saw how families celebrated milestones, how friends supported each other, and how humans expressed love in subtle ways. Every observation added to his understanding, making him more respectful and more fascinated by the species he shared an apartment with. Leo watched Xylo with a mixture of amusement and pride. "You're learning more than you ever thought possible," he said. "You're starting to see humans as more than complicated creatures." Xylo nodded. "Humans, a combination of biology, emotion, and intellect. I am beginning to comprehend not only the process of reproduction, but the depth of connection, empathy, and creativity. Your species, extraordinary." From that moment, Xylo's approach changed. He no longer treated humans as experiments to observe. He began to appreciate their humor, quirks, and imperfections. He laughed at jokes, empathized with emotions, and even tried small acts of kindness. Leo realized that Xylo was not only learning about humans scientifically, he was learning to admire them personally. One night, as they sat on the couch after another long day, Xylo looked at Leo thoughtfully. "I have learned much about humans. I have observed and recorded patterns. Yet there is still more. To fully comprehend, one must experience, one must connect. Humans, they thrive not merely through knowledge but through emotion, creativity, and relationships. Remarkable." Leo smiled, feeling a deep sense of pride. "You get it now, Xylo. Humans are amazing, not because of one thing, but because of all the things we do. Thinking, feeling, creating, and connecting. That's what makes life interesting." Xylo paused, then nodded slowly. "Yes, interesting. I wish to continue study, to continue learning. But also to appreciate. Humans, unique. I admire the species." And so, the big discovery was complete. Xylo had moved beyond simple observation to genuine understanding. He saw humans not just as subjects for study, but as a species of remarkable complexity, capable of blending biology, emotion, and intellect in ways that fascinated even an advanced alien mind. That night, as Leo drifted to sleep, he felt a strange sense of pride. His roommate, once a curious alien observer, had begun to appreciate what made humans extraordinary. And somewhere in the apartment, Xylo whispered softly, almost reverently, "Humans, beyond calculation, beyond prediction, truly remarkable." The journey of understanding had only just begun, but one thing was clear. Xylo's admiration for humans would continue to grow, and Leo's perspective on his own species had been forever changed. By the time the 4th week arrived, Xylo had developed a plan that excited and terrified Leo at the same time. After weeks of observing humans, analyzing gestures, and studying emotions, Xylo wanted to conduct a controlled experiment. But this was no ordinary experiment. He wanted to replicate human social interaction as accurately as possible, including friendship, trust, and even elements of courtship. "Leo," Xylo said one evening, sitting cross-legged on the living room floor, "I have developed a model. I will simulate human social interaction to understand fully how relationships form and evolve." "You will guide me," Leo blinked. "Simulate human relationships?" "Xylo, this sounds dangerous, or at least hilarious." "It is both," Xylo replied calmly, "essential for understanding humans completely. I will execute the experiment with precision." The next day, Xylo began gathering supplies: colored scarves, small figurines, notebooks, and a few gadgets that Leo had never seen before. He arranged them meticulously on the floor, creating zones for interaction, communication, and trust building. He even included a small fan to simulate emotional energy flow and a speaker to mimic laughter. Leo watched with a mixture of amusement and awe. "Xylo, you really take everything seriously." Xylo tilted his head. "Precision is necessary. Inaccurate simulations produce faulty conclusions. Human, complex, must be studied carefully." The first phase of the experiment was simple: greetings and small talk. Xylo practiced handshakes, bows, and polite nods, attempting to mirror what he had observed in public. His first attempts were unusual: a handshake that glowed faintly and a bow that lasted far too long. But he improved rapidly. Leo guided him, explaining subtle cues like tone of voice, eye contact, and timing. "Your gestures must be natural, not mechanical," Leo instructed. "Humans respond to authenticity. Xylo adjusted his posture and expression, practicing again. Authenticity. Understood. Emotional resonance required for accurate social replication. Once he mastered basic greetings, Xylo moved to more complex interactions, shared activities, jokes, and small cooperative tasks. He carefully recorded responses, noting which behaviors produced positive reactions and which caused confusion. Leo helped by introducing friends from campus into the experiment, under the guise of casual socializing. The results were both hilarious and enlightening. Xylo would try to tell jokes, but his timing was off, or mimic laughter with a musical hum that made people smile awkwardly. He attempted gestures like placing a hand on a shoulder to show support, sometimes startling his participants. But gradually he improved, learning how subtle cues could express care and build trust. Leo, Xylo said one afternoon reviewing his notes, humans are paradoxical. They respond to gestures and expressions, yet unpredictably. Emotional resonance, context, and social norms all affect outcomes. Fascinating. Exactly, Leo said, smiling. Humans are unpredictable, but that's what makes interactions interesting. You're learning fast. Encouraged, Xylo decided to study emotional bonding in pairs. He set up a scenario where two figurines represented humans forming a friendship. Using sensors and small holographic projections, he simulated conversations, shared experiences, and small acts of kindness. Each action was measured for emotional impact, laughter frequency, and signs of trust. Xylo observed the results intently. Energy flow increases with mutual understanding and shared experiences. Trust develops over time with consistency and care. Humans, sophisticated in emotional interaction. Leo laughed. You're turning a living room into a science lab for friendship. Xylo's eyes glowed faintly. Friendship? A cornerstone of human interaction. Must understand fully, social bonds influence not only reproduction but survival, mental stability, and society. Humans, complex and effective. The next phase was even more ambitious, mimicking human courtship rituals. Xylo studied couples in public, noting gestures of attraction, shared humor, and moments of trust. He then attempted to replicate these behaviors using holographic participants and figurines. He experimented with different approaches, observing how subtle changes could produce different outcomes. Leo watched, partly amused and partly impressed. You're actually getting the hang of it. Just remember, humans are unpredictable. There's no formula that works every time. Xylo nodded. Unpredictability. Yet patterns exist. Emotional responses, physical cues, social context, all variables. Humans, remarkable. Survival, bonding, and reproduction intricately connected. By the fourth day of this phase, Xylo had incorporated humor and empathy into his simulations. He mimicked laughter accurately, added pauses to reflect listening, and adjusted gestures to show support and care. The holographic participants responded more positively, and Xylo recorded the data meticulously. Leo, Xylo said, eyes bright with excitement, I am beginning to appreciate humans not only scientifically but personally. Humor, empathy, creativity, essential for interaction and bonding. I admire this species. Leo smiled, feeling proud. That's it. You're starting to see humans as more than just complicated creatures. You're beginning to understand the heart as well as the brain. Encouraged by progress, Xylo decided to test cooperation among humans. He set up a scenario where multiple holographic participants had to complete a task together, building a structure using small blocks. He observed how communication, trust, and shared goals influenced success. He noticed that mistakes were often corrected through cooperation rather than competition, and that encouragement and humor improved performance. Leo, Xylo said thoughtfully, humans thrive on cooperation, empathy, and creativity. They succeed not through force or calculation alone, but through shared effort and emotional connection. This is extraordinary, Leo nodded. Exactly. You're seeing what makes humans special. We survive, we adapt, and we connect in ways no other species does. By the end of the week, Xylo's apartment had transformed into a miniature laboratory of human interaction. Piles of figurines, holographic projectors, and sensors were everywhere. But amid the chaos, something had changed. Xylo had moved beyond observation and simulation. He was beginning to appreciate humans on a deeper level. One evening, as they relaxed on the couch, Xylo turned to Leo. I have learned much about humans. Observed patterns, tested simulations, analyzed responses. Yet, the essence of humanity is more than data. It is creativity, empathy, humor, and the capacity to connect. Humans, remarkable. Leo smiled. You finally get it. Humans aren't just biology and logic. We're experiences, emotions, and imagination. That's what makes life interesting. Xylo's eyes glowed softly. Life, unpredictable yet adaptive. Emotional yet logical. Creative yet practical. Humans, unique. I am honored to study and appreciate this species, Leo laughed. Well, just remember, some things about humans can't be calculated or simulated. You'll have to experience them to understand fully. Xylo nodded. Experience, yes. That will be next. Observation and simulation are only the beginning. Understanding requires engagement. Humans, fascinating beyond measurement. As the night grew darker, Leo reflected on how much Xylo had changed in just a few weeks. What had begun as a strange experiment had transformed into a journey of admiration and learning. Xylo no longer saw humans as merely subjects of study. He saw them as a species of extraordinary complexity and beauty, capable of emotions, creativity, and connections that were both fragile and powerful. And somewhere in the apartment, Xylo whispered softly, almost reverently, humans, beyond calculation, beyond prediction, truly remarkable. The alien experiment had begun as a scientific pursuit, but it had evolved into something more profound. Xylo was no longer just studying humans, he was learning to value them, to admire them, and to understand the qualities that made them exceptional. Leo realized that this was the point where their journey truly changed. They weren't just roommates anymore. They were explorers, one human and one alien, discovering together what made life, connection, and humanity so extraordinary. With the experiment ongoing, the apartment became a place of discovery, laughter, and learning. Every day brought new insights, new surprises, and a growing appreciation for what humans could do. Xylo's admiration was evident in every gesture, every comment, and every observation. He was no longer just an alien trying to understand humans. He was an admirer, a student, and a friend, and so, the stage was set for the final discoveries, the moments when Xylo would confront the full complexity of human life, emotion, and culture, and Leo would see his own species through eyes that marveled at everything he had taken for granted. Weeks had passed since Xylo had begun his detailed study of humans. What started as curiosity had turned into admiration. He had observed, simulated, and experimented, learning about gestures, emotions, social interactions, and even the complex bonds that connected humans to each other. But now he felt it was time to present his findings, not just to Leo, but in a way that could honor the species he had come to respect deeply. Leo was in the kitchen, making tea when Xylo approached him, holding a holographic notebook glowing softly in his hands. Leo, Xylo said, his voice calm but filled with excitement, the time has come. I will present my observations and conclusions regarding humans. You will assist me in sharing this understanding with others. Leo raised an eyebrow. Share it, you mean, like a report? No, Xylo replied. More than a report. A demonstration. A synthesis of observation, simulation, and analysis. Humans must be understood as a combination of biology, emotion, and creativity. Their uniqueness must be communicated clearly. Over the next few days, Leo helped Xylo prepare. They organized holographic projections, graphs of behavioral patterns, and interactive simulations showing human gestures, laughter, and emotional responses. Xylo even created small simulations of bonding experiences, shared meals, acts of kindness, and collaborative problem-solving. I want to show my species, Xylo explained, the true value of humans, not merely their biology but their spirit, creativity, and emotional depth. They are extraordinary. When the day arrived, Xylo invited several other alien researchers via holographic link. They appeared as glowing forms, floating silently in the room, observing everything with analytical curiosity. Leo felt a mixture of pride and nervousness. Could Xylo truly convey what made humans special? Xylo began with simple observations, human anatomy, gestures, and social behaviors. He demonstrated greetings, laughter, and empathy through holographic simulations. His alien audience listened intently, asking questions about emotional resonance and unpredictability. Xylo answered confidently, connecting behavior to biology, emotion, and social intelligence. Observe, Xylo said, projecting two holographic humans interacting. Note the combination of gestures, tone, and attention. Each movement communicates trust, empathy, or attraction. Humans integrate these elements in ways no other species does. One alien researcher tilted its form curiously. But why does this combination exist? It seems inefficient compared to logical calculations. Xylo's eyes glowed brightly. Inefficient? On the contrary, the combination allows adaptability. Humans survive and thrive not only through physical capability but through creativity, empathy, and social intelligence. Unpredictability, controlled by emotional intelligence. Remarkable. Leo watched Xylo speak and realized that his roommate had captured the essence of humanity perfectly. Xylo was not just sharing facts. He was conveying admiration. He was showing aliens that humans were special, unique, and inspiring. Next, Xylo demonstrated cooperation and problem-solving. He projected holograms of groups completing tasks together, showing how communication, trust, and shared goals led to success. Mistakes were corrected with encouragement, humor, and creative thinking rather than force. The alien researchers watched in silence, clearly impressed. Humans rely on empathy and cooperation, Xylo explained. They succeed not because of raw power or efficiency alone, but because they connect, adapt, and support one another. This is their strength. Then came the most powerful part, emotional bonding. Xylo recreated scenarios of trust and friendship, showing how humans comfort each other, share experiences, and express care. The holographic simulations captured laughter, gestures, and small acts of kindness. Even the aliens seemed to respond. Some forms shimmered brighter as if understanding the importance of connection. Observe the emotional complexity, Xylo said. Trust develops over time. Bonds strengthen through shared experience. Humor, kindness, and empathy enhance relationships. Humans are not merely creatures of biology. They are creatures of connection, creativity, and spirit. One alien form tilted its projection toward Xylo. You speak of emotions, yet humans are unpredictable. How can such chaos lead to survival? Xylo paused, then said with quiet reverence, It is because humans embrace unpredictability with intelligence, adaptability, and emotion. They turn potential chaos into opportunity. Their creativity allows them to thrive where logic alone would fail. Humans, extraordinary. Leo felt a swell of pride. His species, often overlooked or underestimated by others in the galaxy, was being recognized for its ingenuity, heart, and resilience. Xylo had distilled not just their behavior but their essence. Finally, Xylo concluded the demonstration with a simple message. Humans were unique because they combined biology, emotion, intellect, and creativity in ways no other species could. He had shown that while humans might make mistakes, laugh awkwardly, or act unpredictably, their capacity for connection and adaptability made them remarkable. The alien researchers floated silently for a moment. Then one spoke. We understand. Humans are exceptional. Your species integrates qualities we have not observed elsewhere. You have captured something remarkable. Xylo's eyes glowed faintly. Yes, humans are more than data points. They are energy, emotion, creativity, and connection. They are alive in ways beyond calculation. Leo laughed quietly, feeling proud and relieved. You did it, Xylo. You showed them exactly what makes humans special. After the holographic meeting ended, Xylo turned to Leo. I have shared my understanding. Yet, my learning continues. Humans is still fascinating. There is always more to observe, experience, and appreciate. Leo smiled. And you'll have plenty of time. Humans are full of surprises. As the evening grew late, the two roommates sat quietly, reflecting on everything that had happened. Xylo no longer approached humans as a puzzle to solve. He approached them with admiration, respect, and curiosity. He had learned to value humor, kindness, and creativity, not just biological processes. Leo, Xylo said softly, thank you for guiding me. Without you, my understanding would be incomplete. Humans, extraordinary. I am honored to observe, study, and learn from them. You're welcome, Xylo, Leo replied. And I've learned something too. Humans are amazing, but seeing them through your eyes, it makes me realize just how special we really are. Xylo's holographic notes floated gently around him, glowing softly. He reached out, touching one projection and watching it ripple. special, unique, resilient, creative, human spirit remarkable. I will continue to study, not just for knowledge, but for admiration. Humans, inspiring. Weeks later, life returned to its usual rhythm. Xylo continued to learn and adapt, practicing human behaviors, laughter, and kindness. He even attempted to cook meals, bake cakes, and participate in small traditions, sometimes failing hilariously, but always with genuine effort. Leo found joy in these moments, laughing as Xylo's attempts went humorously awry. One day, Xylo tried to bake a cake for Leo as a gesture of friendship. Flour covered the counters, the oven produced smoke, and the batter had spilled across the floor. Leo laughed until tears formed. "Maybe leave some things to humans, buddy," he said. Xylo tilted his head, glowing softly. "Perhaps perfection in replication requires human touch, yet effort and intention remain valid. I have learned humans." Remarkable. Leo smiled, realizing that Xylo had discovered not only the science of humans but their heart, humor, and humanity itself. The alien experiment had ended, but the admiration and understanding would last a lifetime. And so, the story of Leo and Xylo concluded, not with final answers, but with discovery, friendship, and appreciation. Xylo had found the truth about humans, their strength, creativity, adaptability, and capacity for love and connection made them unique in the galaxy. As they sat together that night, Leo pouring tea and Xylo carefully sipping, the apartment was filled with quiet laughter, understanding, and a shared sense of wonder. Humans were extraordinary, and somewhere in that small apartment an alien roommate had realized it completely. Humans. Fascinating. Xylo whispered softly, a smile on his face. "I am honored to live among you, to learn from you, and to admire you." "Truly remarkable," Leo laughed. "Welcome to the club, Xylo. You'll fit right in." And in that moment, two very different beings, one human, one alien, shared a simple truth. Humans were special not just because of what they did, but because of who they were. The adventure had ended, but the admiration, curiosity, and friendship would last forever. Humans were extraordinary, and Xylo had discovered the truth in the most complete way possible.